If this is one of those days, I'm really glad you're here. This is Kallaborate, where joy becomes your foundation. Not the loud kind of joy, but the kind you build, piece by piece, after life changes everything. I'm Francene, and I'm walking this with you. If you were here in the last episode, we held space for remembrance, for names, for love that still exists, even after someone is gone. Today, we're stepping into something even more tender, something many people still struggle to talk about out loud. Today, we're holding both sides of suicide loss. Before we begin, I want to say something clearly. This episode is not about explaining suicide away. It's not about romanticizing it. It's not about pretending the devastation left behind isn't real. It is about holding compassion for the pain someone carried, while also honoring the unimaginable pain left behind for the people who love them. Both things can exist at the same time. For a long time, I didn't know if people were allowed to say that out loud. One of the hardest parts of suicide loss is the silence that follows it. People become uncomfortable. They avoid the person's name, avoid the story, avoid the conversation entirely. Even now, when I say my daughter died from suicide, I can feel people tense up. Sometimes they don't know what to say. Sometimes they become visibly uncomfortable. And sometimes people say things that hurt deeply without realizing it. Things like, she was selfish. She didn't think about her child. She didn't think about you. Every time I hear that, I realize how little people understand the kind of pain someone must be carrying to no longer believe life is survivable. The hardest part after losing Kat was that somehow I understood both sides. That night, we talked for hours. I knew she was hurting in a way that scared me. And no matter what I said, I couldn't help her find peace. Around 2 a.m, my husband told me I needed to sleep for a few hours because my 1-year-old granddaughter would be waking up early. He told me he would stay up with her. I remember saying quietly, "Fine, but you'll have to help me pick out her casket tomorrow." Not because I truly believed it would happen, and not because I wanted to believe it, but because somewhere inside me, I knew how dangerous the pain had become. Kat had never really opened up emotionally to him before. She became angry, left in her car, and around 3:30 in the morning, she died on the front steps of my home. I found her around 10 that morning. I remember screaming at the top of my lungs. The kind of scream that doesn't even sound human anymore. I collapsed onto the floor, curled into myself, crying, screaming for over an hour. Eventually, a police officer helped me off the floor. Then there was numbness. The numbness stayed through the minutes, the hours, the days that followed. Well, I planned my daughter's funeral with my sister and my son. Part of me still couldn't fully believe I was standing inside this reality. After suicide loss, guilt moves into every corner of the room. You replay conversations, moments, choices, words. You look for the exact place where maybe, somehow, you could have changed the ending. I was angry at myself for going to bed, ashamed that part of me knew how serious things were, while another part of me still couldn't believe it could actually happen. My husband carried guilt for years, too, because he believed sending me to bed made him responsible. It changed us for a long time. While I started trying to heal, he pulled further into himself, further into silence. And honestly, that's something people don't talk enough about. Families survive grief differently. No two people carry the exact same loss the same way. Part of my reality was that there was still a child who needed safety, love, stability, even while everything inside me had shattered. For me, this loss connected to another loss I had carried my entire life: my father's death. Growing up, I was told my dad died by suicide. With that came shame. So much shame. Kids would say things like, "If you're anything like your mother, no wonder your dad killed himself." When you grow up inside something like that, you begin believing your value is somehow connected to another person's decision to leave this world. I always felt less than. like my voice mattered less, like I somehow wasn't enough to make someone stay. It wasn't until after losing Kat and beginning my own healing journey that I started recognizing how manipulated that story around my father's death had always been. But Kat only knew the suicide story. And I think, on some level, she idolized him because of it. This is the part that's difficult to explain unless you've lived it. The people left behind only see the pain of the loss, the empty space, the devastation, the anger that someone left. And the person who died was often living inside so much pain in their own mind that their mind convinces them everyone would be better off without them. I don't believe most people who die from suicide truly want to die. I believe they want the pain to end. When someone reaches that place mentally, they often lose the ability to see that another path still exists. That doesn't erase the devastation left behind, but it changes the lens from selfishness to suffering. Loving someone deeply does not always mean you had the power to save them. That sentence took me years to believe, because love makes us think we should have been able to fix it, prevent it, stop it. But mental illness, especially when someone is spiraling deeply, is not something another human being can always love away. And that truth is heartbreaking. What slowly started changing me was talking about them. Therapy helped me realize something important. The more I spoke about my dad and about Kat, the more whole I felt. The more I allowed them to remain part of my everyday life, instead of something hidden in silence, the more healing began to happen. That's why I started sharing their stories in my speeches, why I say their names out loud, why say their name became part of Kallaborate itself. Because love does not disappear just because someone dies. And silence does not heal shame. Connection does. Remembrance does. Being able to say their name without whispering does. Healing did not come from pretending their deaths didn't change me. Healing came from finally allowing them to remain part of my life without shame. Slowly, through all the grief, all the anger, all the confusion, life began feeling possible again in small moments. Not because the pain disappeared, but because the love stayed too. Joy is not something I lost. It's something I rebuilt. And part of rebuilding was finally understanding that speaking their names brought me back to myself instead of farther away from them. So if you're carrying suicide loss, if you're carrying guilt, anger, questions, or silence, I want you to hear this gently. You are not responsible for healing everyone perfectly. You are allowed to keep loving the person you lost, while also acknowledging the devastation their leaving created. Both truths can exist together. If today all you can do is breathe through another moment, that is enough. Before we close, I want to say their names. Kat, Frank, you are loved, you are remembered, you are still part of the foundation I stand on. For every listener carrying someone in their heart tonight, their name still matters too. They were here. They mattered. And we will remember them together. If this episode met you somewhere tender today, I'm really glad we found each other. This conversation isn't about having all the answers around suicide loss. It's about creating space for honesty, compassion, and healing without shame. If this conversation brought up something heavy for you today, please be gentle with yourself afterward. You don't have to carry this perfectly. You just have to keep taking the next step. We'll keep walking through this together, one conversation at a time. I see you. If you're rebuilding, one piece at a time, follow Kallaborate wherever you listen to podcasts and be part of the conversations ahead.